From slicing off heads with an axe to writing bloody messages on windows, the new Winnie the Pooh movie is filled with some scenes that are sure to make you scream. Scenes just like the one where Pooh and Piglet eat Eeyore. As you all know from your childhood, Pooh has two friends other than Robin, but in this film, we only see one of these two friends, Piglet. But why is that? Well, mostly because Pooh and Piglet, like the sweet, wholesome besties that they are, decided to eat Eeyore at the start of the film. Yep, you heard that right.
Why am I so special?
Because soon we'll be Christopher and Mary Robin.
This place is kind of cold. Did you say I was a pool?
They ate him, all flesh and bones of a depressed donkey. I mean, Pooh is portrayed as a cannibal in the film, so I wasn't too surprised when the duo didn't draw the line at eating their donkey friend. But the scene that shows this whole thing is sure to make you look away from the screen, or at least question everything and ruin your childhood. Kinda like every other scene from this film. But it'll also raise the question, why was this character killed off so early in the film? Well, there's a huge reason behind that, and it's bigger than just making you uncomfortable. The director, Frank Waterfield, said that he was completely fine with killing off Eeyore in the start of the film for a number of reasons. But the biggest reason for this was that this character was just going to be hard to portray well cinematically. But why is that?
We need to go. Laura's dead.
Pooh, Piglet, Eeyore, we were friends for many years, and they're out there.
Couldn't they just use CGI to portray him in the film? Well, the director talked about the two options they had to portray Eeyore. One was definitely CGI, but Frank said that if they had used CGI, it would have looked really bad, given the budget they had for the film. And we all know how bad CGIs can absolutely ruin a film, especially a horror film. Meanwhile, the other option, well, that would have looked even worse. The other option was to make two people portray Eeyore in a donkey suit. Be honest, if that were the case, the movie would have looked more like a comedy rather than horror. Frank said that another reason for this was because the character was just too glum and gloomy, and it would have been hard to portray him as an evil cannibalistic monster. Do you guys agree? Whatever the case may be, the point is that this scene was one of the most gruesome in the film, but the next one might have topped the list. When Winnie the Pooh ripped off a woman's top before feeding her into a wood chipper. Aww, not our childhood fluffy and cute bear being quirky. Nothing says adorable more than throwing people into wood chippers, right? We've seen such scenes before in horror films too, and every single time, without failure, these scenes make us want to switch the screen off. I mean, if you don't feel uncomfortable at the sight of a human being crushed and minced in a wood chipper, maybe it's time to go see a therapist? But let's talk about the scene for a second. This is one of the few scenes in the film that wasn't scripted or planned. Every part of it was improvised and planned at the spot, either by Frank or the actress who was going to be minced in the chipper. May Kelly, who plays the role of Tina, was one of the first characters to die, and she's also the last one to get to the woods. But she stumbles across an abandoned barn, where Pooh finds her and decides he wants a minced human for dinner. But how did Frank think of this scene then? Well, here's what Frank did. Frank said that this wasn't what he had originally planned for the scene, but when he got to the location, he realized that what he wanted to do wouldn't be possible. But before crossing the scene completely out of the film, he saw a wood chipper at the location and he knew exactly what to film.
We used to be friends. Why are you doing this, please?
What was that?
But what about the part where Pooh rips off Kelly's top? Well, that was Kelly's idea. She pulled Frank to a side and asked if she could do the scene that way, and how she thought it would add a twisted, funny edge to the scene. But there was another reason why Kelly wanted the scene to be that way. She wanted to outdo Natasha Ticini's character, who was another one of Pooh's victims. Kelly wanted to go viral just like Ticini. Well, girl, even if this scene doesn't go viral for being funny, it sure will go go viral for being one of the most gruesome scenes from the film, but it's not easy to move on even after the gruesome events. Kinda like the scene where Pooh whips Christopher Robin with Eeyore's tail. Come on, man. Leave the depressed donkey alone now. Y'all already ate him at the start of the film, but now you guys want to use his tail as a whip? So much for asking for peace in the afterlife. The guy didn't even have peace in his actual life. Damn. But that's not the point. The point is, Pooh whips Robin with Eeyore's tail. At first, this scene doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to either because of how toe-curling it is to watch. But why does Pooh decide to whip Robin? Well, I think we can only find that out when we get to see the movie for ourselves in March. Till then, we can just look at how twisted some of the scenes in the trailer are. But how do we know it's Eeyore's tail that's being used? Well, it's pretty obvious. And not to mention, viewers got to hear a very faint sound of a donkey just as Winnie is selecting his device for torture. Frake wanted to make it more obvious by adding a little bow tie at the end of the cut-off tail, but said that he didn't have enough time on that day and just decided to roll with it. Luckily, the fans picked up the subtle hints and realized that it was poor Eeyore's tail. The only question left is, why did they keep Eeyore's tail when they ate him at all? Well, you know, just the way friends keep mementos to remember their friends by. Just some wholesome friendship content right there. Talking about wholesome content, I've got another gruesome scene lined up for you. Piglet ate a woman's face coated in honey. Now, the name of the film makes sense. Not that it had to, but it does. Nothing tastes better than the taste of eyeballs and nostrils covered in honey on a refreshing Sunday morning, right? Don't believe me? Just ask Piglet, and he'd use your face to show you just what a delish it is. The director talked about why the honey was there in the first place, and there's a bunch of reasons. The first one being the most obvious, a bit like ketchup. We dip our chips in ketchup, Piglet dips its victims in honey. See, we're not all so different after all. But there's another reason behind this. He explained that honey has antibacterial properties, and putting it over the victims would help preserve them for longer. You know, so you can munch on an arm as a midnight snack with the gals. Another reason behind the whole honey on the face scene was for character development. Frake explained that in the film, Piglet is a bit sadistic. Nothing makes me happier than knowing one of my favorite adorable characters from my childhood is a sadist, won't you agree? And he explained how he got the idea for the scene just from Piglet's sadism, and how it would make for a cool scene if Pooh was putting honey over the victim's face and Piglet was using that to eat the face off, mixing the blood and honey. Yum! But for now, that was all about some of the most WTF scenes from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey that are sure to make you look away.